This series covers homosexuality and the topic of losing loved ones. Viewer discretion is advised. How the Lion Fell in Love with the Lamb. A Jacksepticeye and Matt Shea fanfic by Fanficgirlsgalore. Link in the description below. Chapter 5. After Ever After. Part 2. No, I shall keep it like this. I assumed one day I would hear the news that Matthias and Loon were engaged, and wouldn't you believe that on Elias' graduation day he announced just that? Matt and I were so proud of them. I asked when the wedding would be, and he said it would be on the same day that I got married on. I had only been this happy once in my life, and that was when Matt had married me, but soon all that happiness dissipated. On a spring night, during Dominic's and Cam's senior year, it was storming and I was waiting for Cam to come home from his girlfriend's house. I waited and waited and waited, but he never came. I started fearing that something terrible had happened when I saw a police car roll up the driveway. I screamed, waking Dominic and making Matt come sprinting to our front room. He went to ask what was wrong, but as soon as he saw the police car, he started crying. The officer informed us that, while Cam was driving home, a drunk driver swerved and hit him. His car rolled and ended up in a ditch upside down. He had been rushed to the hospital, but died in the ambulance. I felt my world crumbling apart. No one in our family was the same after that. Later that year, Dominic graduated from high school and asked to deliver a speech. When he stepped up to the podium, I could see him tearing up. In his speech, he talked about Cam, how much he was missed, and that he could feel him here with him today, accepting his diploma, and cheering for him like an idiot. By the time he finished, the entire room was crying. He went on to college, like his older siblings, and Matt and I were left alone in the house. We decided to move away from all the memories here, and we bought a small 2-bedroom house like the one we had first lived in together. That was the last house we bought. When we were in our 50s, we were informed that we were to become grandpas to Luna's and Matthias' child. When it was time for her to give birth, we rushed to the hospital and met our first grandson. We asked what they were going to name him, and Matthias proudly told us they were naming him Cam, after the uncle that would have loved and played with him all the time. We started crying and handed baby Cam over to Luna before we made him start to cry too. We had many more grandchildren after that, 7 to be exact. Matthias and Luna had 2 more together, and Dominic and Elia each had 2. We loved our grandkids dearly and watched them grow from babies to teenagers to full-grown adults. They even started to have kids, making us great grandpas. There was so much life springing up around us that I almost forgot about death existed. Almost. On a summer day, I was out soaking up the sunlight when Elia came running up the driveway. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that Matt was in the hospital in critical condition. They didn't think he was going to hold on much longer. I went to her car as fast as I could, and she went well over the speed limit so we could reach the hospital in time. We went to the intensive care area, and before we could ask a receptionist where he was, I heard Dominic screaming from a nearby room. I ran to the room and looked down to see my precious Matt lying on a bed, struggling to breathe. I couldn't speak. I numbly walked over to his bedside and sat down in the chair next to his bed. No one in the room made a sound, and Matt turned his head in my direction when I grabbed his hand. He uttered a hello and tried to grin, but winced from all the pain he was in. Apparently he had a heart attack while visiting Dominic and collapsed. I brushed my hand over his forehead, and he thanked me for coming to see him. I knew these were his last moments, and so did everyone else, including him. But he had his final words, and I'll never forget them. "Jack," he whispered, "I want you to know I'm eternally grateful to you. You gave me a wonderful life and everything a man could dream for. a loving husband, kids, grandkids, even great-grandkids. I have no regrets in my life except for one, and that's that I didn't get to meet you earlier. Hey, don't cry. I get to see Cam now. Our Cam. Tobias, and Rose, and all our other pups. I'll see you again. I promise. Live out the rest of your life happy, Jack. Please. I know it'll be hard, but you can do it. You're strong. I love you, Jack. And never have I loved anyone more. The whole room was in tears. I love you too, Matt. After I said the words, he looked at me and smiled, despite the pain. He closed his eyes, and the only thing that seemed to have life in the room now was the continuous sound of the deadline. I did what Matt had asked of me. I lived out the rest of my life happy, or as happy as I could be, but there's still one thing left in my story, and that's the ending. Sometime after Matt's death, I was home alone. I knew that it was my time to go. I called all my kids first, telling them I loved them and how proud I was. Then I walked over to my computer and started recording a video. I couldn't be the same cheery self I had been back when I first started making videos, but I did my best. I said how sorry I was that I had to stop making videos, and how dearly I loved my followers for supporting me through everything. After it was over, I uploaded it to YouTube and walked over to my bedroom to lay down on the bed. I closed my eyes for my last slumber. I did have a dream though before I left the world. It was a wonderful dream, about me, Matt, and Felix, all in Times Square, on New Year's.